So, yeah, tell me about your first out-of-body experience.
All right, Chris. So it was the year 2000, and I went to a place called the Monroe Institute in the States. So this is a research organisation into consciousness, and they have a patented sound technology there called HemiSync. And you basically go there and they're like 6-7 day programs, and they've got a range of programs all based on developing your consciousness, exploring consciousness and expanding your consciousness. And the first program they do is called the Gateway Voyage. And the whole idea of that program, the whole idea of it is to prove to yourself that you're more than a physical body. So I ended up at this place, it's just outside Charlottesville in Virginia in the States. I ended up there, it was the year 2000, from a wonderful range of synchronicities, you know, really directed range of synchronicities that got me to go there. But that's another story in itself. But anyway, so you're on these 6-7 day programs. You got 2 or 3 people in a room, and you've got like your own sort of, like, if you imagine like a bunk bed dug out of the wall, and your bed is in the wall, and you've got like an electromagnetic sheet that goes across so that any sort of electromagnetic signatures are blocked out. And then you've got headphones in your, they call them booths, well actually call them check units, controlled holistic environmental chambers. That's what they call them, check units. And you're lying in those with your headphones. There's about 20-30 rooms in the building. It's a gorgeous place, fantastic grounds. And then as a group, you all go through these guided sessions together, and then you come back into the main room, and then you review and you discuss your experiences, and you do that over a period of 6 days. And again, this first one was called the Gateway Voyage. The whole idea to prove to yourself that you're more than a physical body. So I was, you know, very, very interested in that. I wanted to know that, you know. So this was I think June something 2000, and you get there on the Saturday. You start sort of Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening with these guided sessions. Very powerful stuff, and as a group, all doing it at the same time, there's energy, you know. And then it was about the Thursday, so I'm deep into the program, flying really. It was an amazing program, and maybe like the Thursday afternoon, late afternoon session, it was a very, very deep session, and I popped out of my body, my consciousness popped out of my body. So if you can imagine, I'm lying in the wall in this chamber, the sheet across, headphones on, dark, and my consciousness popped until I realised that sort of consciousness Chris was looking down at myself, the physical Chris, in this booth, just watching myself with the headphones on. And I always say to people, this lasted somewhere between 4, 5 to 12, 15 seconds. It's hard to really gauge the exact amount of time I was in that sort of expanded consciousness Chris state. And then there was a sort of realisation that at the physical level that my consciousness was out of the body. And then there was like a little fear, well, like a strong fear response, and it was almost like if somebody was holding me there and then dropped me and dropped from a height. That's what it was like. And it was like, and I saw almost like I landed back in my body. And that was an absolute game-changing, paradigm-shifting, life-changing moment. Because in that moment, I sort of came round, and it wasn't like I was asleep or dreaming or fantasizing or hallucinating. It was a completely different quality energy experience in this out-of-body state. And I sort of came round, and from that moment on, I've never ever been the same, because I knew, absolutely knew, that consciousness doesn't come from the brain. You know, that consciousness is an energy field that connects us all, of which we're all part of and all come from, and the brain is more like the antenna, the satellite dish receiving consciousness rather than creating consciousness. And it was a complete and a game change. You know, I was a fitness guy, as I told you before. You know, I was 30, I've been in the fitness industry for 10 years, I had a very, very successful business. I was personal training before that even started in this country. You know, I was training professional athletes. I had a very, very successful business. I was health and fitness manager of a private health club in Berkshire. You know, I got it rolling. But that was a game changer. That really changed me, because that really got me to go, wow. I was already interested in sports psychology because I was training athletes. I was already interested in the mind and performance, but this was a whole nother level. This was like a proper, what you could call spiritual awakening, and, you know, a sort of realization moment, you know, that, wow, who we are is much more than physical beings, just physical beings with personality. And I was a very physical guy, and I was a trainer, I was a very fit man myself. wasn't into sort of spiritual stuff at all. I was into psychology stuff, but not spiritual stuff. And this was a game changer. So it completely changed my view of, okay, now I see consciousness is a field of energy and information that connects us all, that we're all part of, that we all come from, and we're a little frequency of a wave out of consciousness in a physical form. And it isn't created by the brain, you know, it's not the brain that creates it and makes us conscious. And as I say, it was a game changer, and that took me on a path then of researching consciousness in depth. I went back to the Monroe Institute 8 more times, spent 8 weeks there over 4 years, did 8 of their programs, and then that took me down to the jungles to do the ayahuasca, and it took me on to all other stuff. But that's how it got started, and it was a complete and utter paradigm shift. You know, it didn't matter what anybody said or what I read or anything about the brain and mind after that. I knew that experience was so real, so visceral. You're like, oh wow, okay, this is a whole nother ball game, man. So that's how I got started into the consciousness stuff.